Jake had always been an avid hiker. The solitude of the mountains and the whispering winds through the trees provided a stark contrast to his bustling city life. This summer, he decided to venture into the Appalachian Mountains, seeking new trails and unexplored paths. Armed with a map, a compass, and enough supplies for a week, Jake felt prepared for anything. On the third day of his hike, he stumbled upon an unmarked trail. Curious, he decided to follow it. The path was narrow and overgrown, as if it had not been walked in years. After an hour of hiking, Jake noticed something odd. There, nailed to a tree, was a small wooden sign with his name carved into it. Jake's Trail. A chill ran down his spine. How could this be? Jake brushed off the eerie feeling, attributing it to a coincidence. He pressed on, driven by curiosity and a growing sense of unease. As he ventured deeper, he found more signs, each one more unnerving than the last. The second sign read, "Welcome, Jake. We've been waiting for you." Jake's heart pounded in his chest. He glanced around, half expecting to see someone watching him, but the forest was silent. The trail twisted and turned, leading him further into the dense woods. Every few hundred yards, another sign appeared. "Almost there, Jake. Just a little further, Jake." Doubt began to gnaw at his resolve. He considered turning back, but something compelled him to continue. The air grew colder and the forest darker, as if the sun itself was avoiding this path. Eventually, the trail opened into a small clearing. In the center stood a weathered cabin, ancient and decrepit, with another sign, "Jake's Home." Jake hesitated at the edge of the clearing, his instincts screaming at him to turn around, but curiosity, mingled with a strange compulsion, drove him forward. The cabin door creaked open as he approached, revealing a dimly lit interior. Inside, the walls were lined with photographs of him, images from his childhood, his teenage years, even pictures from his recent hikes. "This isn't possible," he whispered, his breath visible in the chilling air. A single chair sat in the center of the room, facing a fireplace that crackled with an unnatural green flame. Above the mantel, carved into the wood, was a final message. "Sit and remember." Jake's legs moved on their own, carrying him to the chair. As he sat, memories flooded his mind, memories he didn't recognize. He saw himself as a child, lost in these very woods, finding this very cabin. He remembered the old woman who had found him, a woman with eyes like black voids who whispered secrets of the forest into his ear. "You are destined to return," she had said, her voice echoing in his mind. "The forest chose you." The memories grew darker, showing visions of rituals, of blood and fire, of the old woman marking his soul with an ancient curse. Jake's body trembled as the realization dawned on him. He had been here before. He was part of the forest now, bound by a pact he had no memory of making. The green flames danced higher, casting eerie shadows on the walls. The photographs began to move, the faces within them morphing into grotesque, twisted versions of himself. The cabin creaked and groaned, the very wood seeming to breathe. "You can never leave," a voice whispered from the shadows. Jake recognized it as the old woman's. "You belong to the forest." Panic surged through him. He tried to stand, but his body was rooted to the chair. The room began to spin, the walls closing in. He screamed, but the sound was swallowed by the darkness. The last thing he saw before everything went black was the green flame engulfing him, its heat searing his skin. When he awoke, he was back at the trailhead, the sun shining brightly. His heart raced as he looked around, but there was no sign of the unmarked trail or the cabin. Jake's backpack was at his feet, untouched. He grabbed it and ran, not stopping until he reached his car. Driving away, he glanced in the rearview mirror. For a brief moment, he saw the old woman standing at the edge of the forest, her eyes glinting with malice. The memory of the cabin and the trail haunted him, a dark echo in the recesses of his mind. Jake never went hiking again, but sometimes, late at night, he could still hear the whisper of the trees, calling him back to the Trail of Echoes.